Hello and welcome to the Dailies. President Trump's newly amended Ukraine peace plan continued to draw intense international scrutiny as allies and analysts reacted sharply to the revised framework, some viewing the softened territorial demands as progress, while others warned the concessions still tilt too heavily towards Moscow. In the UK, media focused heavily on the Chancellor's new Labour budget, analysing its tax implications and the political strain it places on the government. Meanwhile, in Brazil, the Supreme Court's decision to uphold Bolsonaro's conviction dominated headlines, widely seen as a pivotal moment for the country's judiciary and political future. American press continued to follow the developments of the peace plan to end the war in Ukraine. The Washington Post reports that despite intense diplomacy and revised peace proposal, key obstacles remain in the Russia-Ukraine negotiations. According to the report, US President Donald Trump said only a few points of disagreement remain, projecting optimism after recent talks. But the piece notes that Russia and Ukraine remain deeply divided, especially on whether Kiev should cede territory to Moscow. It also highlights the overnight Russian strikes, saying they further undermined confidence in a ceasefire. Analysts quoted in the piece suggest that unless Moscow drops its territorial demands and accepts a balanced framework, the proposal's chance of success is slim. American outlets also scrambled to tackle what they called the Witkoff scandal, saying it comes as a stark breach of diplomatic norms, focusing on the unease of an American envoy coaching a Russian official on influencing Trump. Reports raised national security concerns about blurred lines between private actors and official policy. The press largely framed it as another episode of chaotic, risky diplomacy around Trump's Ukraine efforts. The Wall Street Journal examines the details of the scandal, saying that Steve Witkoff was defended by the White House after a leaked phone call with a senior Russian official, Yuri Ushakov. The piece explains that in the call, Witkoff suggested that complimenting Trump and also arranging a direct call between Trump and Vladimir Putin could facilitate a Russian-friendly peace deal on Ukraine. The piece also highlights that the White House defended the leak, calling Witkoff's actions standard negotiating. The New York Times examines how President Trump, now 79 and the oldest person ever elected to the office, is showing visible signs of aging despite his efforts to project boundless stamina. The piece highlights that while Trump still cultivates an image of non-stop energy through combative appearances and frequent foreign travel, his public schedule has noticeably shortened, with fewer events, later starts, and moments suggesting fatigue, including an Oval Office incident in which he appeared to be briefly dozing off. The report also underscores mounting questions about his health, fueled by vague medical disclosures, bruising also he covers with makeup, and his long-standing aversion to exercise. Aides, however, continue insisting he remains in exceptional condition, drawing contrasts with Biden to deflect criticism. Foreign policy argues that what began as a show of strongman authority with Trump's second term has evolved into evident fragility, both abroad and at home. The piece contends that his ambitious Russian-Ukraine peace plan and also hardline tariff measures and aggressive policies promised power, but they're now unraveling under political pressure. The analysis also notes that key supporters within his base, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, are pulling away, which is a sign that even his MAGA core now no longer fully trust his direction. It also suggests that Trump's image of unmistakable dominance is eroding and that authoritarian style alone isn't delivering. Newsweek examines recent polls that show that despite the fallout from his public split with Marjorie Taylor Greene over the Epstein Files scandal, the bulk of Republicans still support Donald Trump. The piece notes that his approval ratings has taken a hit indeed among younger voters and some demographics as well that helped him win in 2024, especially in light of concerns around the economy and the Epstein-related controversies. It adds that still, for now, the GOP base remains mostly loyal. Regarding the Middle East, Axios reveals that the president pressed Saudi Arabia to normalize relations with Israel under the Abraham Accords in a privately tense White House meeting between the president and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The report explains that publicly the two leaders exchanged pleasantries, but behind closed doors, sources say the Crown Prince was firm. Saudi society, deeply wary after the Gaza conflict, was indeed not ready for such a move. The piece also highlights that the Crown Prince insisted any agreement must include a credible, time-bound plan for Palestinian statehood, a stance that stalled progress and left the meeting awkward. The report underscores the difficulty of aligning U.S. ambitions with regional sensitivities, even among close allies. To the UK, as British press coverage of Rachel Reeves' new budget focused on its tight fiscal discipline, emphasizing her push to stabilize the economy after years of volatility. Most outlets highlighted the mix of tax rises and spending restraint, noting the political risks of austerity-style choices in a weak economy. Across papers, the tone was that Reeves delivered a serious but painful budget, prioritizing credibility with markets over short-term public popularity. The Times commented on the new budget in a satirical cartoon showing, as we can see right now, it shows Rachel Reeves wedged in the doorway of 10 Downing Street, weighed down by the red budget box strapped to her back. Her strained, dangling posture, as you can see, symbolizes how trapped she is by the pressure surrounding Labour's incoming budget. The image suggests Reeves is struggling to balance fiscal constraints, public expectations, and internal party demands, leaving her politically stuck. It satirizes the idea that her budget is both heavy and restrictive, limiting her ability to move or act freely. In an exclusive, The Guardian revealed a classified memo from the Office of Legal Counsel, OLC, that contradicts public statements by Donald Trump about recent U.S. military boat strikes in the Caribbean. The piece notes that while Trump has framed the strikes, which have killed over 80 people so far, as a public health effort to counter narcotics, the memo describes them instead as a collective self-defense operation under the law of armed conflict, intended to support regional allies such as Mexico and Colombia. The OLC justification allows the administration to bypass congressional approval, and also legal experts quoted in the piece question the validity of the armed conflict claim, especially given the lack of public evidence that the struck vessels posed an imminent threat or had been directly requested for military assistance. Brazilian media generally framed the court's decision to uphold Bolsonaro's sentence as a major reaffirmation of judicial authority, emphasizing that no political figure is above the law. Coverage also highlighted the ruling as a turning point in Brazil's democratic recovery, stressing its impact on the country's political future and Bolsonaro's diminished influence. The Rio Times reports that Brazil's Supreme Court has rejected any further appeals and formally ordered Bolsonaro to begin serving his 27-year, 3 months prison sentence for organizing a failed coup after his 2022 election defeat. The piece explains that Bolsonaro was previously under house arrest and that after allegedly tampering with his ankle monitor, the court deemed him a flight risk and also placed him in custody. The report notes that the decision closes a major chapter in Brazil's democratic crisis and triggers a process in which his sentence will be served Co-conspirators will remain imprisoned, and also Brazil faces a new political landscape without one of the most polarizing figures. And we'll end with The Independent, which recounts the death of Joanne Templeman, Richard Branson's wife of 5 decades, and highlights the deep emotional tribute he shared in announcing her passing. The piece highlights how Branson describes Joanne as his best friend, rock and guiding light, and also my world, as he calls her, framing his loss as both personal and also profound. The report reflects on their long life together, from meeting in the 1970s to marrying on Necker Island, portraying Joanne as a quiet, steady presence who grounded Branson through every stage of his public career. He praises her as a devoted mother and grandmother, and credits her unwavering support as central to their family's happiness. The article captures a portrait of enduring friendship and heartfelt grief. That's it for today. Thanks for watching the dailies only on Al Arabiya English.